Hello, this is Drew and Terry Edwards here from MakeMorePlacements.com, and welcome to this micro training, 3 ways to get paid faster for your recruitment and search business. Recruitment and search services. If you're listening live on Facebook, drop a comment in the comment box below this video. Let us know that you're tuning in, and we'll give you a shout out. Again, 3 ways to get paid faster for your recruitment or search services. If you're listening to the recording of this podcast on either YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, or wherever, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review, and make sure you join the Make More Placements community over on Facebook so you can get more videos, tips on how to grow your recruitment and search business. Again, one final thing, if you enjoy this podcast, chances are you probably know someone who would also enjoy it, benefit from. So remember to share it with them as well. Again, which is something we put on free. We want to get this message, the value, to as many people as possible. So we appreciate you doing that. So yeah, look, 3 ways to get paid faster for your recruitment or search services. Again, Terry, so before we dive into the 3 ways, I guess what I wanted to get from you is, why is this important? Why is this such a, problem for recruitment and search services?
Yeah, it is a problem, isn't it? We talk to recruitment and search business owners every day of the week. We've probably spoken to thousands of recruitment and business search firm owners over the years, and one of the biggest challenges they have is not so much the lack of business, but the lack of money in their bank account from the work that they've done from clients.
Yeah.
So they know that the money's on its way. They don't always know when it's going to hit their bank account. And as a consequence, it impacts on their behavior. It impacts on the success of the business. But you mentioned earlier, Drew, that it's estimated that many recruitment businesses go out of business not because of lack of business, but because of poor cash flow. They just haven't got the cash in to pay the tax, to pay the wages, to pay all the other outgoings. So it's a real problem for recruitment to search business owners if you don't get this right.
Yeah, I mean, we done a training on this for our clients a couple of months ago, and we asked the question, how many of you have work that you completed, delivered, assignments that you've completed on, and you're still waiting to get paid from the clients? And I think it's like 90% of the room sort of raised their hand. And also we asked, how many of you want to improve your cash flow? And again, 90% of the room raised their hand, right? Like Terry said, cash flow, but you probably heard saying cash is king, right? We see so many businesses who have good revenue numbers, good profitability, but they're struggling, or the business owner is struggling, sleepless nights, struggling to make payroll, headaches, all the stress that comes with running a business. And it's not down to the performance of the business per se, like the revenue numbers. It's down to their ability or lack of to bring the cash through the doors quickly, right? It's obviously better to have, the cash in your bank account than the client, especially when it's work that you delivered. And I think one of the key things about this is, the quicker the cash is in your bank account, the more opportunities you have to reinvest into further growth, right? So it actually speeds the growth of your business as well. I think, when you think about investing in software, investing in employees, investing in, whatever it is to grow your business, it comes down to not just the revenue, but the cash flow. So again, I think that's very important. I think, again, one thing I want to get across before we dive into the 3 ways when it comes to, getting paid faster for your recruitment or search services, is that there are no rules, right? There seems to be, I guess, a misconception I don't know where it started from, but there's industry norms when it comes to payment terms. There's, retaining one or the third. There's just, and every sector is slightly different, but there's industry norms when it comes to payment terms. You don't have to abide by the industry norms. In fact, I guess what I would say is, to build a cash-rich, profitable business, one of the sort of key things that we share with our clients is you need to look for ways to violate the industry norms, because normal businesses that stick to the industry norms get normal results, right? And I'm pretty sure that you probably didn't set up in business to get normal results, right? So if you want to do better than that, one of the things you need to look for is, how can you improve on the industry norms? How can you set up things not based on what everyone else in the industry is doing, but what's best for you, your business, your lifestyle, and ultimately your family? And I think, again, going back to the importance of cash in your business, if you think back to why you started your business in the first place, many of the recruitment and search business owners that we speak to, like, one of the key things that they say is, it was, one of the motivations would be security, and freedom. a lot of that security and freedom is linked to your ability to collect cash, right? So it's very, very important. Terry, anything you'd add to that before we dive into the three ways?
Yeah, I think the point you made there about violating the industry norm, just for some people cause a bit of conflict. It's like, well, now I'm kind of uncomfortable doing that. Think very carefully about that. All the research suggests that it's those individuals that violate the industry norm. You can look at the likes of Netflix violating the industry norms, or Amazon violating the industry norm. Here's another thing to consider. Only a small percentage of recruitment and search businesses, about 15%, are highly successful. Majority are not. There's about 15 to 20% that are actually struggling most of the time. So if you do what most people are doing, you're going to get pretty much the same results. As Drew said, you're going to be mediocre. And if you want to be a mediocre recruitment business, yeah, by all means, do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
If you want to stand above the crowd, if you want to have this profitable, cash-rich business, you have to look at violating the industry norms. And we're going to give you some examples of that in terms of some things you can do. One of them, by the way, would be, I would encourage you to do, is have the mantra or the rule that it's your business, your rules. You should be deciding who you work with, when you work with them, what they pay you, and when they pay you. That should be your decision, not the client saying, well, I'll pay you in 90 days. Yeah. I will only pay you this. Because the moment that you're going along with that and saying, well, that's what all the other recruiters are doing, the hiring managers making the decisions for you. As it's your business, they probably haven't got your best intentions at heart. If they haven't got your best intentions at heart, it probably isn't good for you in the long run. Maybe good for them as a business, but probably isn't good for you. It's one example of violating the industry norms.
Perfect. So look, let's dive right in. 3 ways to get paid faster for your recruitment or search services. The first of the 3 ways I want to share with you is probably the easiest way, the most obvious way, but I think because it's easy and most obvious, is often the most overlooked as well, and that is to reduce the payment terms on your contracts, right? So reduce the payment terms in terms of days in your contracts, right? So again, we speak to hundreds and hundreds of recruitment search business owners every year, right? And we've seen businesses that have 120-day payment terms, businesses that have 90 days, 60 days, 30 days, 7-day, 5-day, right? You can pick the payment terms you want. Again, in terms of cash flow, in terms of getting paid faster, again, it should be sort of fairly obvious that if you reduce your payment terms from 30 days to 7 days, you're obviously going to massively improve your cash flow over the year, over the course of the year. So I think, I don't know what your payment terms are now in your business, right? It doesn't really matter whether you're at 90 days, 100 days, 30 days, 7 days, or whatever. I think, one of the easiest things you can do instantly, like overnight, to improve your cash flow next time you win a client, is to reduce it. Now, how drastically you reduce this is entirely up to you, but everyone listening to this can reduce it at least a little bit, right? So if your payment terms are 30 days and, obviously you understand that, you reduce it, you're going to get paid faster, but you don't maybe feel confident to reduce it 7 days, you can still reduce it to 29 days. If it's 90 days, you can still reduce it to 60 days. Everyone can do a slight reduction of the payment terms to improve the speed that they get paid from a client. And again, if you've gone from 30 days to 28 days, for example, it's a small, it's almost insignificant. So you're not going to get any pushback from your clients, but over the course of the year, it's going to make a big difference. Over the course of the next 10 years, it's going to make a massive, massive difference in terms of how fast you get paid, right? So again, one of the sort of key things I recommend you go and do after listening to this, watching this, is, go and reduce your payment terms on your contracts. Like, if you, whatever days you've got right now, months we've got right now, look for ways to reduce it. Obviously, the more you reduce it, the faster you get paid, but you should at least reduce it a little bit. Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, one thing we talk about often when negotiating with a client is something called win-win. It should be, if you're going to ask for that, you want to make it. There's a saying in business: you can get anybody to do anything, you can communicate the benefits of them doing it. So if a client's asked for discount, you're now going to come down to say 25% or 22%. One of the things you can look at doing is saying, yeah, we can do 22% on the understanding that this invoice is paid within 7 days. In the event that it isn't, then we charge our standard fee. So ultimately, what you're doing is you're saying to the hiring manager, this is your choice. If you want the discount, we can do that, but it has to be paid in that time. But our terms clearly state that if it isn't paid in the agreed period, be it 7 days, 14 days, whatever that is, you pay the standard fee, because there's now an incentive for the hiring manager to make sure this invoice is paid straight away. But all you're doing is you're going for a win-win. You want to have a situation where they win and you win. And I think the key thing here as well, that the point the major, simply ask for it. You see, if you're sitting there right now and going, yeah, but in my industry or my niche or my clients won't do that, so because I don't believe they will do that, I'm not going to ask them if they will do that. Guess what? It's never going to happen. If that's what you believe, then you don't ask. Not many clients offer to pay quicker, but what we know is if you ask, some of your clients right now will agree to pay you on shorter terms, in particular, if there's a benefit to them doing. But you will only get that if you ask for it. Not everybody will do it, but a percentage will. Look at it from your point of view. If you know half your clients make the payment in 7 days, what impact would that have on your business? What impact would that have on your family and your peace of mind if you could reduce that down to 7 days simply by asking the question?
Awesome. Perfect. So again, method number 1 is to reduce your payment terms. Method number 2 is to work on a retained model, or at least ask for a percentage of the fee up front, right? To work on a retained model, or at least ask for a percentage of the fee up front, right? Sometimes called a container or whatever, right? Doesn't matter what it's called. The point is, if you're gonna work on an assignment, you're gonna work on a job order for a client. Most contingency recruiters obviously are getting paid after the work is done. If we can, if let's say you're if you're already retained, you already know this, right? So if let's say you're already retained, and again, a typical retained recruiter industry norm is third, right? Third when you start the search, third on acceptable shortlist, and third when you complete the assignment. Again, so if you're retained, one of the ways you can speed up the way you get paid here is, rather than charging the third for the first installment, you charge 40% or 50% or whatever, right? We can increase that to sort of front load the way you get paid, right? That's number 1 if you're already doing retained recruiter. If you're not doing retained and contingency, obviously getting paid anything up front is going to speed up it's always going to help you get paid faster, recruitment services, right? So there's lots of ways you can do this. And again, key point here is forget the industry norms. How do you want to get paid? What's going to be best for you? Terry, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, and what I'm really clear about this, and Drew made a good point there, that the retainer isn't always about the money, it's about the commitment as well. Because one of the advantages of working on a retained model is that ultimately you'll work less and you'll earn more, because a retained recruiter fill rate is going to be as high as 90%. Also equally important, they're always going to get paid for the work that they've done. And if you can communicate to the hiring manager the benefit of them engaging you on the retained basis and the benefit of them paying you a percentage of the fee up front, they are more than happy to do that. You need to be able to communicate the benefit in them paying you on the retained basis. I used to work with a small recruiter, a local recruiter, where the average fee was only something like, I think it was just over 3,000 in pounds, in sterling. And they used to get a retainer of, I think it was £450. But here's the point about it is, it helped with their cash flow for sure, but it also meant that the client was committed to working with them. And the moment you get that commitment, the more likely you are to fill that role. The clients are not going to weren't paying that particular recruiter a deposit, as they called it, a containment, call it whatever you like, a small amount up front, and then give that work to other recruiters. So it substantially increases your chances of filling the role, but you're getting a percentage of the fee up front. So it's getting the commitment from the client, but it's you being able to communicate the benefit to them in doing just that. But getting a percentage of the fee up front will substantially increase your cash flow. I was saying to Drew just before we jumped on this call, I was talking to one of our clients, and there was an element of frustration from him in as much he's a solo recruiter. He only did $500,000 last year on his own, but his fill rate was down. But here's what was interesting. He generated just over 140,000 in first stage and second stage fees without delivering, because what had happened was these assignments have been then put on hold. Now, just think about that. we talked to a lot of solo recruiters who aren't even doing that, working the jobs and filling the roles. And he got 140,000 and he hadn't even completed on those roles. Just think about what that would mean to you. And by the way, payment for his term, his case, his payment terms are 14 days. 14 days from raising the invoice, he gets paid. So he's reduced his terms and he's working on a retained model. Just for a moment, think what impact that would have in your business if you could reduce your term, and every time you got a job order, you got paid a percentage of the fee up front.
Well,
back to you, Drew.
Sorry, Terry, how much was it in revenue that on work you hadn't completed?
$140,000 he got in first stage fees.
Awesome. And again, before he started working with it, he was doing discontinuity as well. So that's 100K just from changing the terms. Awesome. So look, just to recap, reduce payment terms, work on retained model, or front load your retained model if you already work on retained. Method number 3 is change when the payment's due. So payment due on offer or acceptance, not start date. Terry, I'll let you sort of lead with this one. What do you mean by that? I know it's one of your favorites.
Yeah, majority of recruitment, in particular contingent recruiters, they may start the working on a job order or several job orders, let's say in month 1. And what the contingent recruiters do, rather, they've got maybe 10 job orders in month 1. Now, the average contingent recruiter will fill between 20 to 40% of the roles they work on. So let's say that at the top end, and they will fill 40% of the roles they work on. They've had to work on 10 roles to fill 4 of those roles in month 1. So they work on those roles, get the candidates back to the client maybe in month 2. The client makes an offer to those candidates in month 2. The candidate's on a month's notice, so the candidate won't be starting with the client until month 3. So by month 3, the client then makes an offer to the candidate. The candidate starts in month 3, and then the client says to you, and we'll pay you in 30 days. We're now into month 4, maybe even month 5, if it's 60 days. So you started the work in month 1. At the earliest you're going to get paid is month 3 or 4, maybe even 5. Again, remember, this is always your choice. The alternative is, and probably 90% of our clients do, the balance of the invoice is due upon offer, not acceptance, not start date. So you start the work in month 1, you do the work, the client makes an offer in month 2, the candidate accepts in month 2, the candidate is on a month's notice. That's when the invoice is now due upon offer and the candidate accepted and everything being signed off, of course. So you now get paid month 2, worst case scenario, month 3 on the work that you started in month 1. Does that make sense, Drew?
Yeah, it does make perfect sense. And I think that this one is again, in fact, all of these, you can do this tonight. You can just go open your terms tonight and fix this. But this is, again, one, you're not going to get really any pushback from clients, past clients, current clients, because you've already done the work. You've already completed the assignment, right? The offer's been accepted, right? So you've done your bit. Yeah, again, so it's just really simple, really sort of good way to get paid. Terry, I know that one of the questions that comes up from this is, what if the candidate doesn't start? What then? How would you?
Yeah, and in fairness, the client may well ask you that. Well, that's all very well, but what if the candidate doesn't start? Well, it's the same as if you place a candidate and they leave after 4 weeks or whatever, you're going to go and find them a replacement. So that's exactly what you're going to go and do. But you're not going to run off with the client's money. That would be totally unacceptable. And in fact, it'd be bordering on dishonest. If a candidate doesn't start, you simply reactivate that search to find another candidate. Again, look at your numbers. If you've got a large percentage of your candidates when they make an offer and they don't start, you may want to look at your process. But if you look overall, for most people, that isn't a major problem, that you're making offers to candidates and not starting. If it is a major problem, I would say you need to look more at the process that you're going through as to what's creating that thing where majority of your candidates that you make an offer to or the client makes an offer to doesn't start.
Yeah, also, like, this is something that happens whether you've been paid or not, right? So if you don't get paid till candidates start, and they leave, or they don't start, you restart the search, right? So it's no different. So therefore, what would you rather? Would you rather restart the search with the money already in your bank account, or would you rather restart the search with not being paid? Again, further delays until you get paid. So look, that's an obvious question to me. The answer is obvious. The only reason people don't do any of these changes is because of fear, because of pushback from clients or lack of sales skills, right? So if you want help with that, head over to makemoreplacements.com. Again, we've got a free training there that will show you, not only how to, get paid for your services faster, but also how to sell the service, how to sell retainers, how to convince the client to pay you faster as well. So that's makemoreplacements.com for more details on that. Terry, anything on that before we wrap up?
Yeah, just I talked earlier about you can get anybody to do anything. You can communicate the benefit to them, and often people say, well, what's the benefit to the hiring manager in working with me on reduced terms on the retained model and paying upon offer and acceptance? Well, if you go across to makemoreplacements.com, you can get access to all that information of how to do just that. So makemoreplacements.com, or join our Facebook group, the Make More Placement community over on Facebook, and we'll share with you exactly how to do that as well.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. We'll speak with you again soon. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe and share the Make More Placements podcast. We'll see you again next week. Until then, take care, take action, and be relentless.
Cheers, folks.